What is going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly Amazon Q&A show where we share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and of course, we answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So if you've got a question about retail arbitrage, you are curious about online arbitrage, you're wondering about diving into wholesale, or you just have a curious Keepa chart, well, drop it in the chat and we are here to help. Now, for those of you who might be new here, my name is Chris Grant, and to my right is my abstemious co-host, Chris Rasick. It is back, or it is good to be back in the co-pilot chair with you, man. How's your Wednesday treating you?
Wednesday's good. Yeah, it's good. Good to have you back. A noggin my size, it needs to only be half screen at most. You know, it's dangerous. Otherwise, it gets it's heavy to carry around. So
it's not the most fun club to be in when you step into a lids and they go in the back and then they come out and they say, sorry.
right.
I too am in that club. But you know what they say about guys with big heads? There's supposed to be a big brain up there. I don't know if that's actually the case or not, but
yeah, I don't know. Every time I try to say that, I get eye rolls and whatnot. But yeah, the lid story, that is true. Like back when fitted hats were the thing, I used to tell them and they would say, I think we have that size. they honestly weren't sure. So, but yeah, it's good. I tell you what, I happily release the controls. I feel much better with you at the command center. I had it was a mess. Like when I was trying to run it, I had to like fill in with that gong sound, just to buy some extra time. And so yeah, back where we should be. So good
absolutely.
to see you back.
Yeah. Syed, good to see you. Dylan, good to see you too, sir. We've got a couple of pieces of news, but we really want to answer your guys' questions. And also I have to apologize. I'm sorry. I know it's weird. It looks like I'm looking up, got a new monitor, testing something out, and very soon it'll be back to normal. But Shannon, what is going on? Heather, good to see you. All right, let's dive into a little bit of news, and then we'll answer your questions as well. And hopefully I'm not covering anything that Rasick already covered. But Amazon just announced something that I think may have a bigger ripple effect than most people realize. They are now offering, Dylan, that's exactly why I did it. My wife actually went out and picked up a 43-inch television screen for me today because it was on sale. And so now I'm looking at a 43-inch monitor here because I can do 4 27-inch screens in one without having to crane the neck around. But for now, I gotta look up. It's a little daunting until I get a new arm here. But so Amazon's got 1 and 3 hour delivery options across the United States. There's 1 hour delivery in parts of Chicago, Houston, LA, Nashville, Oklahoma City. Seriously? Washington, D.C., and then even some smaller markets like Des Moines. That's in Iowa, for those of you who did not know that. Or wait, Idaho? See, I don't even know. Like, who knows where Des Moines really is?
Des Moines
Boise,
is Iowa, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Boise, that's in Iowa. And American Fork, Utah. 3 hour delivery is available in over 2,000 cities, including suburbs and mid-sized markets. And they're planning on expanding to more cities in the coming months. Now, for Prime members, this 1 hour delivery is going to cost $9.99. 3 hour delivery is going to be $4.99. Non-Prime customers are going to need to pay $19.99 and $14.99 respectively. But of course, standard same day delivery is still free for Prime members. I actually took advantage of that today myself, and I'm looking, going to get a new monitor arm delivered by 8 o'clock tonight. Now, on the surface, this really just sounds like consumer convenience story, and yes, it is. But I actually think there's a bit more of a seller angle here. Like first, think about what products they're probably going to prioritize for this. It's the stuff that people would, "Hey, hun, can you pick this up on the way home?" type of stuff. It's going to be the household supplies, the paper towels, the toilet paper, maybe some health and beauty items, some over the counter medications, some electronics, maybe some toys, maybe some clothing. It's going to be those everyday essentials and probably the high frequency purchase categories. Like, it really seems like Amazon is positioning itself to be the store that you reach for when you need something in the next hour, rather than stopping at CVS or Walgreens or running into Target or Walmart on the way home. A retail analyst was quoted in this report saying this could be particularly bad news for drugstores because Amazon's prices are often lower on everyday staples like toothpaste and toilet paper. And now Amazon can match or beat them on speed as well. And when you can get something delivered to your door in an hour for 9.99, the value proposition of driving to the store like starts to erode pretty fast, you know? Um, for sellers, this matters because it tells you where Amazon is investing and where demand is going to accelerate. Amazon doesn't do this kind of stuff blindly. Like they know what they're getting into, and they're not going to build out this kind of infrastructure without expecting some serious volume through it. They're betting the consumers are going to shift more and more of their everyday purchasing to Amazon once that speed barrier is gone. And when that happens, the categories that qualify for these faster delivery options are going to end up seeing increased traffic and conversion. Second, this raises the bar on what customers expect. Like, when someone can get a product in 3 hours, their tolerance for a 3 to 5 day delivery window drops. And this kind of thing happens fast. If you're merchant fulfilling and your delivery estimates are 5 to 7 days, you're going to be competing against sellers whose inventory is sitting in an Amazon warehouse that can get it to the customer before dinner. So I would imagine that gap is going to matter even more. Third, and this is going to be something that is a little bit more long term, the faster that Amazon's delivery network gets, the more valuable it is to have your inventory in Amazon FBA warehouses. Amazon's only offering these delivery speeds on products that are already in their fulfillment centers and positioned close to the customer. Like every time they expand these speed options, they're effectively rewarding sellers who use FBA by putting their products in front of customers with the most compelling delivery promise. And this also connects to something that we've talked about with the GMV numbers. That's gross merchandise volume for those of you in Ann Arbor. Amazon is deliberately keeping everyday essentials as their territory. They want to be the low price leader. As a matter of fact, they have been for like the past 3 or 4 years. When you look at it, not necessarily from third party sellers, but you look at it objectively from a lot of the everyday household items. One out of every 3 units sold is now in that category of everyday essentials, and it's growing twice as fast as everything else. 1 hour delivery on household staples is an infrastructure play that is going to make this strategy work even better. Now, that's not bad news either. So don't take that as, oh, well, Amazon's looking to grow their pie. No, not necessarily. Like if you're selling in categories that overlap with these fast delivery eligible products, you're going to be okay. But also, when someone goes and says, "Oh, well, you know what? I really need that toothpaste and the strawberries and the milk delivered in the next hour. But while I'm here, I might as well pick up that toy for Timmy's birthday next week." We're going to do just fine. It's going to bring consumers back to the platform more and more and more. And that is good for us, especially in a time when Chris, you and I source together quite a bit. I am seeing nature's healing. I am seeing so many charts with crooked upward numbers. And I'm not seeing the velocity fall as much as I would expect it to. We are poised to win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is, in the beginning you said this is going to serve those people that are, hey, can you pick up X on your way home? And I think actually what it's going to do is it's going to bail out the husband who gets asked, but like, you did pick up milk on your way home, right? he's gonna be able to pay $10 and get out of the doghouse a little bit quicker. Yeah, this is look, I number one, I do think it's funny that they're taking a fee from us for inventory placement, and then they're also charging the fee for fast delivery. But whatever, you do you, Amazon. I get it. It's there are a lot of footprints in that complaint, so I won't go there. But so for a second I thought that maybe, I wondered if Amazon was cannibalizing their own transactions a little bit by doing this, right? That's kind of where I went first, and so I thought it was curious. Like, we've reported on the mini fulfillment centers that they're expanding, right? Which that was the idea, was to make fulfillment, to bring one day and same day delivery to a broader selection of Amazon customers. I get that part. So, but now you introduce the 1 hour delivery, but rolling it out right now before those mini fulfillment centers are fully operational feels like they limit their inventory availability of the products, the catalog that would be available for this 1 to 3 hour delivery. Now obviously it's a controlled rollout, so obviously they can control what resources are available to the neighborhoods that actually get this. But I think this actually, the point about this hurting the drugstores is, I think that's probably the number one, the biggest bullet from this whole thing. It's CVS, Walgreens, like, they are not happy reading these articles, I'm sure.
And it's a bunch of private equity guys who own Walgreens now, and what a bad investment that was, looking backwards, just 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are probably sitting there going, what's left in this business that we bought that's profitable? Like prescription drug, that whole thing is a mess and kind of fallen in on itself. And now the one bailout was trying to get people to actually buy the stuff in the stores and try to get that back up. And that doesn't, that's less plausible now too. But, I could almost see this working in concert with same day delivery, right? So you roll out same day delivery, right? So people are looking at Prime, you put your order in. I do it myself with Walmart Plus. When I get groceries delivered, I'll get that email and says, hey, if you need to add anything, you can add it until 3:00. And it is exactly 3:35 when I remember what it is that I forgot to add to the shopping list, so I can't get it on that order. So I'm placing a same day Amazon delivery order. You get everything. You realize too late that you forgot something, but for $10, you could have it show up an hour after that first delivery shows up, so the two work in concert, and obviously Amazon gets the extra revenue by taking advantage of that. So yeah, this is, and Shannon, you're right. They do have to compete with Walmart and Walmart Plus, which they're no stranger to that competitor. That's they go back pretty far now as rivals. But I know, as a Walmart Plus subscriber, I get all my groceries delivered now. I haven't stepped foot in a Walmart in, I can't remember how long. And I do pay that $3 to get it delivered in 3 hours or less. There are times where I need, based on school pickups and everything else that's going on, I need to tighten that window so it's worth the extra money. So there's a market for it, because there's going to be people that prefer shopping at Amazon over Walmart. So, and this is all good news for us. I mean, it's every piece of the speed improvements that Amazon has made. It just makes our customer base more loyal. It makes that number of every cent of per dollar spent online that goes to Amazon, it makes that number go up. It makes Prime membership, which is still somehow growing, it keeps that moving up. I mean, it all comes together with several different pieces that we report on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Amazon feeling the heat from Walmart? Maybe. I don't know. Here's something I found interesting, and this is the advertising side. It's not the e-commerce side, although e-commerce did grow more on Amazon than Walmart, not in a percentage wise. We have to always take some numbers with a grain of salt, because reporters like to report what makes their thesis sound good. But there was a report not too long ago that Walmart, their advertising grew by like 3 times as much as Amazon's advertising grew. And the headline was like, oh, Walmart just beat the crap out of Amazon. And then you go and dive in, and it's like, oh, Walmart's advertising went up, like 47%. And Amazon's only went up like 8 or 10%. But Walmart or Amazon added 3 of Walmart's total advertising in the same time period. So like, I don't know if Amazon's feeling the heat from Walmart. Like Amazon's bigger now, objectively. Like, they are a bigger company. I do think that they want to stay competitive for sure.
Yeah, let's remember that Walmart is and will be for a very long time be playing catch up. Walmart could have had much bigger market share because they have all those stores. Like the average American is we've given that number before. It's ridiculous, the average distance that you would have to go to get to a Walmart. I mean, it's
like 90% are within 10 miles or something.
Yeah. So you've got a built-in mini distribution center. Like a Walmart could have taken all of this, but they were so slow to the e-commerce game. Watch the Paul Rafelson episode, and you can see he'll tell you exactly. He'll show you fly on the wall kind of storytelling of how Walmart fumbled the bag. So yeah, Walmart is so far behind. So, and which means they have, like Chris was saying, they have so much room to pick up, but Amazon can't even see Walmart in the rearview mirror. So,
yeah.
And on top of that, Amazon they've never wavered from their desire to get product in the hands of customers as fast as possible. Right. I've said it over and over again, but it's been a while, so I'll say it again. Amazon changed this entire industry. Before Amazon made 2-day delivery a household thing, an expected thing, online orders used to take 7 to 10 days to get to you. Amazon changed everything. So, I mean, this is Amazon's wheelhouse, and Walmart's just trying to chase after them as fast as they can.
I'm gonna date myself here. And if my kid actually watches this, he's gonna be like, "Is that really what it was like in the late 1900s?" But when we were young and we were broke, we would order things from the service merchandise catalog, and you'd have to wait like 2 weeks for things to get to your house, and that was normal.
Yeah.
Will the FBA fees go up? Yes. But I don't think that's because of anything other than last mile just gets more expensive. I don't know that that's because they're building more warehouses, or they're going to be like, oh, you know what? We just built a few extra warehouses. Let's crank up the fees. Here's a hot take. I don't think Amazon is really necessarily trying to take us for everything when it comes to FBA fees. Like I don't think that that's making them a huge amount of money. Is that a profitable line item? Probably. Like they are a publicly traded company, so it would be silly for it to not be. But they're really making the money on the referral fee. Like that's where they make their money. Let's see here. See if there's any questions here. So I got to move around the camera to be able to see here. Baldy, I'm asking a question about the 14-day challenge. The offer on the that is for leads. Yeah, absolutely. Amazon introduces Shop Direct program where you can buy products. Yeah, we've talked about this. You're going to be able to buy products off of Amazon as well. Some places don't really like it. Some do. It's interesting. And yeah, Walmart does keep fumbling the bag with sellers. Real bad. All right. We're going to get to one other piece of news, and then we'll answer some more questions here. Tax refunds are up 10% this year. So we know tax season is in full swing, or what I like to call extension season. And refunds are getting bigger this year. IRS data so far shows the average refund is up about 10.6% compared to last year. And some analysts, including TD Bank, had projected increases as high as 30%, or about $800 to $1,000 more than last year's average. A lot of that is driven by new deductions from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that expanded tax breaks for a large chunk of households. About 85% of households are expected to get some kind of tax cut this year. So the obvious question is, does this money end up in your pocket, or does it go into a savings account? And analysts say that the answer is a bit complicated. The answer is probably some of it will end up in your pocket as a retailer, but you probably shouldn't go sourcing thinking that people are going to blow all of it. So here's what the data is saying. Morgan Stanley's economists expect a bump in disposable income, but they don't expect an immediate jump in consumer spending. Their analysis points out that the most common uses of tax refunds are saving money and paying down debt, because we are really not that far outside of Q4. Their analysis points out that the most common uses of tax refunds are neither of those count as consumption. So a bigger refund doesn't automatically mean a bigger shopping spree, although they are leaving out the part that what do people do when they pay down credit cards? TD Bank is a bit more optimistic. They expect the fiscal boost to linger beyond tax season and project inflation-adjusted consumer spending to grow about 2.8% this year, which would beat last year's 2.7% and outperform earlier forecasts. So there is a positive spending signal. It's just not like 5%. Now, there is a little bit more to this. Like, the people getting the biggest refunds are middle and upper income households, and economists are pointing out that those households are the least likely to change their spending habits because of a tax refund. University of Texas economists said refunds might shift the timing of purchases, but wouldn't significantly move the needle on total spending. And then the Tax Professional Association echoed that, saying clients are talking more about paying down debt and boosting savings than buying new cars or doing home renovations. I mean, everyone did home renovations like 5 years ago. I don't know that we need a whole lot more. And this connects to something that we've been talking about on the show, which is the K-shaped economy. Higher income consumers are doing just fine. They're spending, but they were already spending. The refund doesn't really change their behavior much because it's much less of a boost to their bottom line. Lower and middle income consumers could use the boost, but they're more likely to use it to catch up on bills or to reduce credit card balances, which again, they forget to mention that means that they'll end up go and spend on those credit cards again. And that's not, I'm not taking a jab at lower or middle income folks. It's just a fact. Retail analyst Neil Saunders shared some data saying that's worth paying attention to. Last year, 61% of people who received tax refunds spent at least some of that money on retail. This year, that number is running at about 56% so far. The proportion being spent on retail is also running slightly below last year. But because the refund amounts are higher, retail should still see a net boost, even if it's a smaller percentage. Yeah, I mean, this is everyone is very back and forth, and it's so hard to know like what'll actually happen. But historically, all of these analysts, in my opinion, have been fairly flat or even somewhat bearish on the consumer, and the consumer has outperformed every single time. So I'm hoping that that's the case this year as well. And I don't see why it wouldn't be unless, we have some sort of black swan event, which we've already had one this year. Do we have another?
Yeah, I pulled I pulled enough credit reports in my time in my professional career to have any faith in any significant increase in savings accounts. We've talked about before, the retail numbers, surprisingly, even though all the buzzwords, negative buzzwords in the media about the economy and how tough it is and inflation this and tariffs that and blah blah blah, and there's fear and all sorts of negatives being spread out. However, we've just gone through a series of reports after report after report of positive consumer spending indicators, right? I mean, numbers just continue to increase. Now, we found out as that those reports were analyzed that it is kind of becoming a K-shaped economy, where it's the higher earners are the ones that are spending, and any difficulties in the economic landscape, they were actually downgrading on brands, right? Which is bad for luxury, good for us and the stuff that we arbitrage and put on Amazon. But think of the bottom of that K, the lower income people, they've had to cut spending. I don't see how some of this tax money isn't put back into retail, I mean, and again, like you said, we're not picking on anybody, as far as like economic, where you fall in the economic class structure. But poor spending habits don't correct themselves, especially when you've had to stop spending, Like, how many people do you know living paycheck to paycheck that kind of front load the entertainment because they deserve it, because they've gone X number of days waiting on payday, and then they get their payday, and they go out to eat, and they go and, they go out to the bar and they have their fun, and then they just repeat the cycle, and then they've got to wait several days for the next paycheck, instead of flipping it, paying the bills, being conservative through the middle of the pay period, and then once payday comes close, and then splurging at the end a little bit after you've paid your bills, funded your savings accounts or whatever you need to do. And don't come at me, when you don't have enough to live. I get that part, but that's not what we're talking about right here. So, if you've had to cut back on your spending and you get flush with cash, how does it not end up going into the retail sector? I'd be very surprised if the numbers coming from this tax season, Q1, once they're finally reported, I'd be very surprised if the numbers aren't up by a little bit above expectations.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, OP, I got a question. If when I list merchant fulfilled inventory, I noticed I do not get the option to be a featured offer eligible in certain categories. Would it make sense to try to source listings without a buy box? Yeah, it's okay to source items that have that's called a suppressed buy box, is what we call it, where they've got to click through and it creates a little friction to find the seller. Yeah, you just need to make sure that that item is still selling, because when a buy box becomes suppressed, it does not mean that the item no longer sells, but it does mean that the velocity will slow down because there is another layer of friction, and consumers, they don't like friction. But I mean, we sell on listings all the time that don't have buy boxes. We just make sure that there's velocity on them. Oh, Jaron. Jaron with a bold take there. Prep center question. Are they requiring minimum quantities per month, or are they flexible usually? Thinking to do some FBA from time to time. It depends. A lot of them do have a minimum per month requirement to send items into a prep center, which I get from their side of things. You, as a prep center, you are counting on economies of scale. And if someone comes in and says, well, I'm only going to send you 50 units a month, the economies of scale don't work, because they've got to be like, oh, well, okay, we're just going to do this 50 unit here for these folks. And then we've got a context switch to another seller, and maybe they're sending in 500 units. And so it makes sense for them to want to have some larger number of units in there. But some places will take everybody. That's just finding the one that is good and has no minimum necessarily. What are the pros and cons to toggling Amazon Business to on when adding products to my inventory? The pros, it opens up another layer of buyers. The only con, in my opinion, is that some of your items may take longer to pay out to you, because if the business buyer has, let's say, 90 days same as cash, you don't get paid until they pay and they fulfill their obligation to pay, which could be 90 days. What's going to happen with this Amazon required labels on everything unless you're the brand registered UPC? Probably nothing. You should be putting FN SKUs on all your products anyway as a arbitrage seller. I know for us, literally nothing changes at all. We've said this for years and years and years. You never wanted to use commingling anyway. It's a bad idea. And so we've used FN SKUs for years, and so nothing will change. Hey, Luke, what's going on, man? All right. We've got one last piece of news, and we've got a paradox tonight. So, again, I don't know, Chris, if you covered this already, but Amazon's big spring sale kicks off next week. Starts on March 25th through the 31st. Little late for you to really get anything in for this sale, at least FBA-wise. There may be some opportunities like Easter. People are going to be shopping. People are already shopping for Easter, that you could merchant fulfill during this sale. But it's going to be a 7 days full of deals. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Big Spring Sale is Amazon's March deal event. Think of it as a smaller version of Prime Day, but spread across a full week. And like this is not unusual for this time of year. There are, and I'm not going to name the names of some other sales that are going on right now, although one retailer literally called theirs the Big Spring Sale as well. I was like, come on. Marketing department's getting a little lazy. But there are like half a dozen, if not more, competing sales that have already started. Um, so day two is every day is going to have a different theme. Like day one is general spring deals, day two is Easter essentials, then home refresh, spring beauty, spring cleaning, spring fashion, travel must haves. Like they're going to do this whole thing. Now, unlike Prime Day, you don't have to be a member to shop this sale, but Prime members get access to exclusive deals with a Prime Spring Deal badge. Amazon's also pushing early deals right now leading up to the event, which means traffic and buying behavior are already starting to shift a little bit. Now, what can you do as a seller this week to take advantage? Probably not a whole lot. It's a little too late to stock up FBA inventory, but you are going to want to start paying attention to your pricing. Like, are you being competitive? Is there anything that maybe has been sitting around a little while that you could take advantage of there being a little uptick in traffic on the platform? Like, those would be important. But maybe the most important thing is, there she said it. This is a great time to be looking for stuff to buy. This is going to be prime, excuse the pun. It's going to be prime shopping opportunities, not only on Amazon, if you do Amazon to Amazon flips, but also across all of the competing retailers that are going to be running their own sales. So it is time to get those credit cards out and I got to stop that. Ready to spend.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, this they just don't get sick of sales, do they?
And Prime Day, the Prime Day sale is moving. It's going to be in June rather than July. And then we're going to have big deal days. And are they going to move that to late September because it's too close to Cyber Monday and Black Friday? Or like,
well, this the move, and I don't think it's confirmed yet.
No, it is still a rumor.
Yeah, but the logic that made the most sense to me for them moving that was to get ahead of the back to school. I mean, pretty much graduation day is going to also be like back to school time. There's literally just going to be no summer break, apparently. You know, so that was because everyone's trying to creep in more. You know, we've from the consumer side, we've seen plenty of information indicating that consumers are spreading out spending more, which obviously it makes, you know, it's logical to think to move things up to start the sales earlier, you know, if they're going to have to spread that money. So I think that's mostly back to school. So I'm not sure the move in Prime Day days is going to start a chain reaction of other events moving. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious how this plays out this year. Jaron, ever seen entire boxes get transferred without opening and receiving? For example, 4 SPD boxes went to Florida. They go to Jacksonville, or man, there's another one. I'm trying to think the other one I don't really care for. Is it PMB? Is that a warehouse in Florida? PMB. No, maybe not. But yes, I have seen this. I have seen this happen. It seems that at least one of the distribution centers here in Florida, like they just take entire boxes and say they're going somewhere else. Jaron, you're too kind, sir. All right. And if you guys have more questions, we're all about them. So please drop them in the chat. Oh, whoa. Wow.
that was asking that was preemptive permission to slam you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, reach out to shake hands with one hand, and then the other hand got a knife. A2, Brute. So for those of you who may be Michigan graduates, that refers to Caesar being killed. All right. Finding things at some retailers on clearance. I've not found them through Keepa or through searching on Amazon. Would that be a good item to purchase since it's only sold by that one store? Finding things at some retailers on clearance. I've not found them through Keepa or through searching Amazon. So, like, you need to make a listing. If that's what you mean. I mean, if you listen to our last podcast, like 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, nah, put it back. But we released a podcast this past Monday, which I know that Liz probably does not listen to us, but if she does, I did not email out her podcast episode because I was in the middle of an OA challenge. And it just went out on YouTube and shared it on Twitter and in a Facebook group and, of course, in OAC Plus. And that thing has taken off. It's become a very, very popular episode. So if you have not seen it, go listen to it. It is very, very good. For those of you who are here and in OAC Plus, guess who's going to be coming in to teach a class on a much deeper dive into it. But now, knowing what Liz talked about, buying 1 or 2 items and creating the listing on Amazon, yeah, it might actually be worth the 10 minutes to create that listing. Now, I'm not qualified to tell you what brand you can create listings for or all that kind of stuff. But soon we'll have the knowledge. How do people list bundles with the brand name? Don't do bundles. You'll get in trouble. It's probably. That's actually not true. You may not get in trouble, but bundles are usually circumventing Amazon's terms of service. So this was a very popular thing for certain people to teach, and a lot of people lost their accounts over it. Some multi-million-dollar sellers lost their accounts over it. It's probably best not to go and create bundles on Amazon. Okay. And guys, again, if you have more questions, drop them in the chat. We're happy to answer them. But tonight, I think, Chris, I think you were doing these while I was gone, but tonight we're going to talk about a paradox. So imagine with me for a moment, it's midnight. You find a sick deal, a flip on Amazon. It's some kitchen gadget. It's 45% off retail. You're looking at a nice 32% ROI after all the FBA fees. You're going to make like $20, $30 a unit. The BSR is under 80,000, and it's been that way for the last 6 months. Like, you've run through the numbers like 3 different times. Everything looks great. You're ready to buy like 24 units. You got them in the cart. You're ready to go. You know that it's from a source that's going to ship all 24 units. And then you hear this little voice in the back of your head. What if it doesn't sell? What if I get hit with an inauthentic complaint? What if a bunch of other sellers jump on the listing tomorrow and that price crashes? So you close the tab, you walk away, and you feel pretty safe. Like, you feel okay in the moment about that decision. Well, that right there is what clinical psychologist Dr. Frank Ferranda calls the fear paradox. Fear evolved to keep us safe through the use of avoidance. We saw some saber-toothed tigers scat on our path, walking back to our cave. We went the other direction. We took the long way around. But in the modern world, where like the physical danger is basically zero, and please don't come at me, okay? Your likelihood of being in any physical harm is pretty close to zero, at least in the United States. Well, that same mechanism, that fear avoidance, has morphed into an obsession with eliminating every possible discomfort. And the result is that fear itself becomes the biggest threat to your progress. Now, if we take this into our realm of OA and RA, it actually kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, you probably actually chose this model partly because you felt like it was lower risk. There's no manufacturing. There's no supplier negotiations. You don't have to go shake hands or kiss babies with wholesalers. It's just smart buying and shipping to Amazon, all from behind the safety of a keyboard. But the drive for safety that drew you in is also the chain that's holding you back. Let me name some of the fears, because I would imagine you're probably going to recognize a couple of these. There's the account suspension terror. You think that one IP complaint, one inauthentic complaint, that Section 3 is going to come right down the road, and you fear that that will wipe your business out. So you stick to the same three categories that you feel are safe, and you avoid anything that feels like any kind of risk. There's also dead inventory dread. You're afraid that a buy is going to sit in a warehouse racking up storage fees, so you only order 6 units to test, or you don't pull the trigger at all. And then there's competition panic. Like, every seller uses the same tools. So the moment that this deal appears, you assume the price is going to tank and you talk yourself out of it. There's also analysis paralysis. Like, you spend 2 hours researching a product and you still don't buy it. And then there's the hesitation to scale. You need to invest more. It's a very simple math equation. If I need to grow, that means I need to sell more. And upstream of selling more is buying more every single week. Maybe you need to hire out a VA. Maybe you need to build some systems. But the thought of going bigger feels overwhelming and scary, so you stay where you're at. And here's where that paradox kind of hits. Like, the safer you try to play, the more vulnerable you may actually become, because you've got stagnant revenue. Perhaps your margins start wearing down because people do finally catch on to what you're doing. Businesses that are small, they have advantages in the fact that you can pivot quickly. However, businesses that are so small that one policy tweak can wipe them out are also dangerous. Your obsession with security can actually create fragility. So how do you break the cycle? Well, first, you need to set some non-negotiable buying criteria and commit to those. There's nothing wrong with that. Write down your rules, minimum ROI, maximum BSR, minimum whatever. I always like to build in kind of an escape. Okay, so maybe I can break one of those rules for a good reason. And then when a deal hits those numbers, you buy it. You can't like have a committee with yourself before doing it. And then track every test in a spreadsheet. Like, one bad buy is tuition. It's not something that's going to ruin your entire business. 10 good ones is going to give you some serious data. It's going to fuel the momentum. Fear of bad inventory ends up evaporating a bit after, a dozen or so tests, because you've proven that what you're doing is working. Second, build in a compliance system that tries to reduce some risk instead of just avoiding it. What I mean by that is scan every receipt. Photograph the packaging of everything that you purchase. Save your order confirmations. Keep a digital file folder on everything that you sell. And your fear of suspension should drop pretty dramatically because you can respond to Amazon quickly with organized proof of everything instead of trying to go everywhere trying to find what you need. Third, let automation handle the emotional aspects. Set a repricer up and let it handle the repricing. You know, let those kind of things like defend your margins while you sleep. If you're worried about, not getting reimbursed from Amazon, hire true ops. Like, I'll get you $1,000 in reimbursements for free. Um, like, let that mental load be carried by automation or a service that is affordable for everybody. And then finally, scale in some deliberate 90-day sprints. What's that saying? Work like a lion, where you sprint for a short period of time and then you rest. Like, pick one of the fears that you have and test it for 90 days and then have a predefined exit plan. Maybe it's reinvesting 70% of your profit back into inventory. Maybe it's hiring a virtual assistant to handle some of your admin tasks. Like, every time you sprint for a period of time, it should shrink the next fear. And then finally, reframe fear as a growth signal. Every time you get butterflies in your stomach, know that discomfort may just mean that you're on the edge of the next level in your business. The best sellers that I know treat fear the same way athletes do. Like, it's proof that you're doing the work and you're kind of where you need to be. And that is the fear paradox.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's amazing how many things come up, based on the fear paradox, based on these ancient instincts that were based on our survival during a far different time. It comes up in business. It comes up in emotional well-being. A bunch of different contexts. I find that really interesting. You know what? Here's the thing. We're talking. A lot of people, went through the OA challenge, and we put out a lot of stuff that's based on from an educational standpoint. We answer questions, to solve problems and help you move things forward. And just ask yourself, what did you set all this stuff up for if you're not going to go out and play in the corral that you made? Like, you built this car, and you say you bought a, I don't know, a kit car or something like that. You're making a car, and if you put airbags in it, you put it in the steering wheel, and it's like, I'm gonna put some side airbags on it, for that's extra safety. And I'm gonna put a car seat in the back for the kids, and I'm gonna put anchors in the car seat that makes it extra safe. And I'm gonna make sure all this, and you get this car all set up. And then essentially, if you click off of it, in the hypothetical that you started in the beginning, when you find this great product, talking yourself out of it is basically just never driving that car that you built. If you put all these things in place and you set everything up, you've said, okay, I want to operate in this little fenced in area. Go out and play in your backyard. Like that's what you set up that fence for. There's so much overthinking that is doing so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of, and it's funny how this plays in, because you can parlay this into, education as procrastination, which I don't think is quite as black and white as people say. Like, there's something to continuing education, because there is such a thing as knowledge erosion, but I mean, we see people, just they're sellers that that are lower volume sellers that are trying to test out. They're trying to figure out a bookkeeper and a CPA, and then they're going to buy an accounting software too. They're going to have all three of those. Like if you're not doing $10,000 a month on the regular or above, your accounting can probably be done with a medium bag of Skittles. You don't need to take on all that cost. Like you're just playing. You're doing make believe. Like set this stuff up, take these courses, get that education, and then put it to use. There's a time where you got to call yourself on your own BS and just take the leap. It's I don't know. This is why you're the you're the front facing person and I'm just the comic relief, because I don't have the patience. I'd start yelling at people and I'd be reaching in my bag for the tough love and but I get frustrated, because it's and I get frustrated because I see a lot of the same stuff in myself, and it's the reason that I read all this stuff and when we study laws like this and whatever is so that we can identify it in ourselves. That's why it's interesting to us, and we hope that it's interesting to you too. But there's a big level of self-service, when we share this stuff.
Oh yeah. I was gonna mention that, like we say a lot of this stuff, but honestly, a lot of the times we're just holding a mirror up, and people happen to be listening to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and honestly, I think it's funny. We've talked about this before and off camera, but this show and the podcast, we skew to a different crowd. Like the Chad Scalers out there, and like there's not quite a lot of there's only a little bit of overlap. Like we're a couple old guys, so there's not a lot of I can't imagine there's a lot of broccoli haircuts in the audience tonight, right? We skew a little bit older, but we've had our fair share of young sellers on, and the reason we do that is because there's something to take from that. It's the same thing like when you talk about a mastermind. It's why would a $1 million seller want to be in a mastermind with a new seller? Because they have a fresh perspective. They have an enthusiasm. They're not jaded yet, like people who've been around for years and years and years. Like there's something you can take from it. And when we talk to these kids, they don't have the fears that we see. And I get it. Some of it is age and wisdom. Like you become older, and I've talked about your most valuable currency changes as you get older. These kids, they're just learning how to make money. So you're gonna be enthusiastic when you start finding methods that work. Once you get older, your most valuable currency becomes security and time. Because your own mortality starts staring you in the face, and mistakes get more expensive, especially when you have a family relying on you. So we have to take an extra level of caution. So a certain amount of it's warranted, but I think we take a step too far sometimes. So yeah. So I appreciate the young kids, man. They just get after it, and they just don't let self-doubt sabotage their potential.
Yeah. I think Gavin, one of the things that he said I really liked, and I think it's a word that maybe us elder statesmen, no, that's too much credit. Us older guys may not use or say, but he's like, I just brainwash myself. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It has negative connotations, but you can brainwash yourself with the right information. And that is a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent point.
Losing my job was the biggest discomfort so far in my life, and the fear of jumping into this and purchasing things has been so hard. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But, and I know that this is a trite, but do it scared. As long as it's not going to put you in a position where you're going to be out on the streets or anything, do it scared. Do it small, um, and it'll be good.
Yeah, it's it's a tough lesson, and it's kind of like advice that you simply can't absorb when you're in the middle of it. But when you look back at it, every time I lost a job, or I got fired, I got fired the day after I took my very first paid vacation.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I was in like restaurant jobs and bartending and stuff like that. And I got to this point, I was like, God, I get a week's paid vacation. Like, it was the best thing ever. I felt like such an adult. Took a vacation, came back, and I got fired that next day. And I remember I got so mad when my dad kind of laughed at me because I was kind of like in the middle of it, and I said, God, I just feel like a fool, like, especially coming from where I was, the high that I was on, kind of, made the fall that much harder, coming off that high of the first paid vacation. But now you let enough time pass and you look at it, and every time I've left a job that's been uncomfortable, things worked out better, and I know that's not true for absolutely everybody, but I got to think that's the case most of the time, because regardless whose decision it was, whether it was the employer's decision or you had to leave somebody, it's a signal that it wasn't the right match, so it's uncomfortable during, but eventually there's a better match down the road. So
yeah,
again, easier said than done.
absolutely. All right. That is actually, I'll tell you what. Chris, what do you call an Irish guy with a bulletproof vest on?
I'm not sure.
Rick O'Shea. And that's the show for tonight, guys. We'll be back on Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll do this all over again. So if you have questions, you want to get our thoughts on, we can help you in any way. Please come back, tell your friends, and come hang out with us. We enjoy doing this. Oh, here we go. Deal Hunter, is using my business credit card to take advantage of the points and discounts for personal purposes from time to time acceptable from the IRS standpoint? That is going to be a big no in terms of separating personal and business finances. It would be better to keep those completely separate. And if you have an LLC, like if you don't want there to be the ability to pierce the corporate veil and all that kinds of stuff, you're going to want to also keep those things separate. That way, if you get sued, there's all no. All right, guys.
Well, hey, hang on a second though. Credit card points too?
Oh, well, okay. So credit card points. No, I think the points can be used personally.
Yeah,
But
I was going to
I
say,
thought-
because Chase, my personal cards and my business cards feed into the same Ultimate Rewards account.
Yeah, no. I was taking this as like going and buying a TV, for your house on your business credit card to make sure that you hit that bonus.
Yeah, that sounded like the way you took it, but so maybe it's a more nuanced question than maybe even Deal Hunter intended. But yeah, the points can be used for personal.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are considered a rebate, and they can pass through to the individual without, depending on what accountant or bookkeeper, if you get a good one, they should be able to pass to the individual without any tax implications. Do I have to be ungated before buying your monthly membership? I know if you want to join OAC Plus, you don't have to. I mean, you're already ungated in things. as a new seller. So yeah, there are things you're ungated and can sell, but no, you can join us anytime in OAC Plus. Thank you, follow Jaron for more financial advice, everybody.
And a list of countries with no extradition laws.
Exactly. All right, that's it tonight. That's it for everybody. We'll see you guys on Sunday.